Welcome to This Works Marketing, where 3 decades of proven experience has launched products, built brands, and generated profits. These are the stories behind the businesses that have been built. All right, so welcome to This Works Marketing, and what we're talking about today is introducing a brand internationally, but specifically from the UK, Europe, into the United States, and building a direct-to-consumer brand. So that's what we're talking about today, and this is my friend, Rob Lewis. Rob Lewis, you are the CEO of a company called Roxy.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about Roxy, and what does Roxy do, and give me the 4-1 and everyone who's watching the 4-1
Absolutely.
Roxy.
So, we're a tiny little company competing in a very big space.
Right.
So we've got a completely different way of listening to music at home. So our competitors are people like Sonos, Apple Music, Spotify.
Right.
And what we're delivering for a slightly older audience and a family audience is a box that you open, plug into your TV, speakers if you've got them. 2 minutes later, you've got all the music in the world, but not just listening to music. You've got karaoke, music games, a load of fun for the whole family, and dead affordable as well.
Yeah.
So a very different way of bringing music back into the home.
Now this is the Roxy unit,
Exactly.
the controller. Tell me a little bit about what it does and what are the challenges of communicating this product, and why direct response? Why is that something for a company
It's
in
a very
London?
good question. It's a very good question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, essentially you get a box, plug this into your TV and speakers, all the software's already loaded.
So it's an HDMI cable.
HDMI cable.
Power
into the TV, already set up, ready to go.
No passwords.
No
usernames.
No usernames. No monthly recurring subscriptions.
Right.
None of that annoying stuff.
Yep.
It's just like an old CD player. You plug it in and it works. But it also comes with tens of millions of songs when you buy it. So there's no subscription. It just works out the box.
Right.
And then you've got a little controller. It's a bit
Right.
like one of those Nintendo Wiis.
Right.
So it's a Wii-style controller, but also a wireless microphone.
Right.
That's handy for voice search, but also for singing.
Right.
We might get you singing later, Ken. You never know.
I don't know about that.
And you plug it in, and instantly you've got all the music in the world.
So
Yeah.
in the States, so there are streaming music services like Spotify, Apple Music. So how is Roxy different than the other streaming music services? And what's the value proposition?
Yeah.
And why direct response? Why are we doing business together? And what was the reason for you and your company?
Yeah. So I've been involved in music streaming since the very beginning. In fact, I launched the very first mobile music streaming service in the world in Sweden 15 years ago. I got the music industry to agree to license their music for streaming. Mm-hmm. And I always thought within a few years the whole world would be streaming music.
And you were 15 years ago.
15 years ago. 15 years ago. 15 years later, it's only 1 in 10.
But you were right.
Well, we're guessing that.
Okay.
But there's only 100 million people in the whole world who have a music streaming subscription today. And there used to be 1 billion people buying a CD every single month. So there's a big chunk of people missing. And what we discovered is that an older audience, the family audience, less tech savvy, they find all these kind of app downloads, subscriptions, monthly recurring, which hardware, which controller, all a bit complicated.
Right.
So we're trying to make it really simple for an older, less tech savvy audience, and make it really affordable too. Much cheaper than buying hardware, controller, subscription.
And it's the highest quality of streaming music. And I think that's one of the things people need to understand, that when you're doing a streaming service, it's high quality, and that's exactly what people are getting.
It's high quality audio, and it's not just listening to music. There's also visualizers to bring all these wonderful photos into your room.
Right.
There's karaoke. There's music
Midnight
games,
tune,
ambient sounds like for
10,000
yoga,
radio stations.
10,000 radio stations all over. There's so much stuff, which is actually important, particularly if you've got young kids.
Right.
They might not just want to listen to music. They may well want other forms of entertainment, like singing or the games.
So all those things that we're talking about is precisely the reason why you're doing a direct response campaign. So tell me the problem you were seeing marketing the product, and how you're going to get that message out there, and why it drove you to direct response.
So direct response, really interesting for us. There's 2 things that make it really attractive. The first is I'm competing against some very big companies in the world. Right. I can assure you, Apple have a lot more money than I've got, In fact, I'm a tiny startup competing with Amazon, Spotify. I can't outspend them on a 30-second TV ad.
Right.
I mean, I'm always going to be outspent.
Right.
The great benefit with direct response is I can explain to an individual consumer and show them how it's going to change their world, how it's going to change the way their family interact, change the way they consume music, make their home a happier life in a way that I can't in a 30-second TV ad.
Right. You just couldn't. I mean, let alone tell your message. You got a brand against the big guys, and that's a losing proposition.
I'm never going to raise $100 million to even get to the same level as Apple.
Right.
So I've got to spend my money much more wisely.
Right.
And that means about spending money where I get a return very quickly.
Right.
And also spending money in a way where I get to keep the margin. I'm not just handing all the profit over to a retailer who might even go bust next Thursday.
So let's talk about that. I think that's an interesting part of direct response. Is not only is part of that getting your message out there and being able to explain the product. That's huge.
Yeah.
We'll talk. I want you to get a little bit about that, and then I want you to talk about that you're going direct to consumer. Therefore, you are bypassing the big e-tailers like the Amazons and the retailers. You're bypassing those, and you're owning the customer. So there's two questions there. Why the long form? Why did you feel that this was the right way to tell your message? And how does that work into profitability to you own the customer? Because that's huge.
That is huge. So, I mean, the first component is talking about why go direct. And for me, it seems it's very simple, which is if I'm going direct, I can spend a lot more money acquiring a customer.
Right.
And I'm going to get the money from the sale immediately, not 6 months later, which is what I might do with the retailer.
Exactly.
If I'm lucky.
After you knock on their door and beat down.
Exactly, and beg a little. Yeah. So I'm going to get paid actually before I even ship the product to the consumer. Mm-hmm. That's big, and I'm making good margin on it, and I can reinvest it back into acquiring the next customer the next day.
Right.
I'm not going to wait 6 months for the retailer to give me a tiny proportion of the margin. That's not to say that we don't work with the Amazons of the world, because if somebody really wants to buy on Prime, on Amazon, we will accept the fact that there are customers who will always want to do that.
Correct.
But we'll always offer extra features and upsells and other opportunities.
When you're doing direct.
Free postage when we're doing direct. So encourage consumers to come direct.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you decided that, okay, so you're a startup, you have investors, you've got a lot of work, and I can say working with this product, it is an amazing product, and working with some of the largest recording artists in the world, especially in the United States. We can't get into who they are, but you will be seeing it on TV soon. You put a lot of time investing in just the conversations I hear you having with the managers and the publishers and the music. I mean,
it's a complicated proposition. The reality is there are less than 10 companies in the world who have the global rights to all the music in the world. And they're fairly big companies. They're people like Amazon, Spotify, Napster, Deezer, Apple, and there's little old us. We're the smallest of the small.
Right.
But we've got a radically different product targeted at a completely different consumer. 2-minute setup, very affordable, no monthly subscription. And we believe by demonstrating this product, people will buy it in quantity because it meets a consumer need that the large entrants have yet to meet.
Exactly. And so that drove the decision to do long form. Why? Because you had to tell the story? I mean, I know why, but tell everybody why.
I mean, the great thing about long form is you can do what you would be doing if you were in a retail environment. A consumer in a retail environment, and we've tested this in retail, if you take the time to explain it to a consumer, show them how it works.
They get it.
Let them see the user experience in action, and they see how suddenly their family are jumping up and down and dancing and singing and playing. They want one, they leave with one. Now, I can do that in millions of Americans' living rooms every single day, every single night. That's why long form is a great way to get an innovative new startup product out into the market. If I wanted to do that with 30-second TV ads, I need $100 million, and after $100 million, people will start to be aware of what I'm doing.
Right, they'll know Roxy, but will they really know the value proposition? Because that's what the long form has given you the ability to do, is to tell everything you just explained to the product, you couldn't even jam that in a 30-second. You couldn't jam that in a 2-minute commercial where people are going to go, I really want that and I need that. So
well, in fact, I'd say we've done test marketing in the UK, not really here in the US, and we did experiment with 30-second TV ads, print ads, TV shopping with a particularly well-known TV shopping channel.
Yep.
We experimented with a whole raft of different test budgets to see how each performed. And the long and the short of it is the two things that work time and time again were TV shopping and demonstrations in a retail store. And so rather than spread my not $100 million very thinly, I want to spend all my money on things that work every single day. And for me, that's only two things. That's long form, because I can be in that living room, selling it to the consumer, demonstrating it, showing how it works, getting them to the point in 30 minutes where they're actually picking up the phone. Or it's in retail where I'm demonstrating the product. But demonstrating the product in a store is nowhere near as scalable as buying infomercial media on TV, on TV stations all over the US and indeed in Europe.
So the interesting thing is that, so I'm just going to break it down for people, is that, so what Rob's saying is, so if you, let's say we have a big retailer here in the States called Best Buy. So you see this at Best Buy and you're there and you can only touch a few people a day, but if you have that 20 minutes with them, they're going, oh yes, I want this.
Exactly.
But that's not scalable.
Yeah.
So if you can...
When we've done that kind of demonstration, usually 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 of the people in the store who are demonstrated to will buy the product.
And that's a great conversion.
And that's a great conversion rate.
Right.
But do I really want to employ 1,000 people to sit in Best Buy stores all over this country? And then wait for Best Buy to pay me after 6 months and keep most of the margin? Or would I rather have an infomercial where I just decide each day how much I'm spending and which channels it's going to be on? Hence, you're my new best friend, Ken.
but the difference between if you're doing that other way, now you're in the human resources business and you're not in the music entertainment business is what you want to do, because you have such a great value proposition to what's out there. So you're with long form, what we're doing is we're creating the exact perfect message. That's the beauty, because when you're at a store or you're at a TV shopping, you have that person's attention and you can create the exact perfect message. And now we're just duplicating it, making it perfect, and we are literally making it perfect. Like when we're done with the show, we're going in
it perfect.
and we can just take that perfect message and deploy it wherever we want.
And I think the other thing which I think is important to say, because as you know, we've done trial campaigns, we've got real world consumers using the product. The other thing that we have the benefits of is we've done a lot of research on customers who bought the product. We know who they are. We know they're essentially average age of 49. They're slightly more female than male. They probably have kids. They're not particularly tech savvy. We know they don't have a music streaming service to go. And we know why they buy it. They buy it for ease of setup, ease of use, the catalogue, and the fact there's a load of stuff to keep the kids happy. And so we know we can turn that long form to definitely focus on the key reasons for someone to pick up the phone and buy it within 30 seconds of the ad starting.
Or go online to get more information.
Or go online to see more information.
But the point, in addition to that, is when you talk about that customer is on television. And let's talk a little bit about, and Rob has a lot of experience and expertise in the digital world. So everybody talks about digital. That's the panacea. That's going to solve everything. But it's
an important component.
It's an important component, but it's not the answer.
It's not the foundation. Ultimately, what I think often happens in advertising is the current trendy part of the industry. Every marketeer wants to look really cool because they're doing it. So I'm sure that there's a pile of people currently investing tens of millions of dollars in virtual reality products at the moment, which no one's going to use, which deliver no return
not for 20 years.
Definitely for quite a long time. Whereas the great thing about TV is it's actually really cheap. You get great returns if you've invested in the creative asset. I think the one thing that one doesn't want to do is create a bad infomercial, because that's like having a bad salesperson in your living room.
Yep.
You've got to have a really top salesperson in the living room. It's got to be polished, especially if you're a new brand. They've got to have confidence, and definitely let's have a few celebrities thrown in. As you know, we've got quite a few.
Yep.
That's the key for me, is that the media is actually very affordable. You can make a return, and as a startup, I don't want to spend money on stuff that just simply doesn't work.
You got to have cash coming in so you can scale and reinvest.
Reinvest. If I put an infomercial on at 9 o'clock tonight, and somebody buys at 9 o'clock, and I get that money, I can invest it the next day in another infomercial slot. So it's instantaneous reinvestment of the revenues you're generating. Whereas if I manufacture a load of product, send it to a major US retailer, 6 months later, perhaps they tell me how many they've sold, and then they might pay me a little bit of what I should have made. The recycling is very, very slow.
Exactly, and in some cases, it might even be on consignment.
Yeah, well, indeed, and they might actually go out of business before they pay me too.
Not a good.
So non-optimal.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're doing direct response, long form, but we've created the whole ecosystem of a transactional website.
Yeah.
We have a digital play going on.
Yeah.
So what we really preach and what we've really come to a real connection together is that let's get the message out there, and then if somebody goes through digital and they're reminded on digital, great. They've learned about the product. They can go buy it that way, or we can retarget them. So the point is, this whole campaign is about touching the consumer where they are throughout the day.
Yeah.
They may see it on TV, they may be reminded on Instagram or on Facebook or in a digital ad, but that's how it all works together.
Good display network. I think that's key, because for every customer who sees it on TV and just decides to buy it on the spot, there's at least one customer who wants to speak to their husband or their wife. Or just think about it for a few days. And then this reality of life, which is we get bombarded with so many promotions, and we all have very, very busy lives every day.
And short attention spans.
Is a little bit of a reminder when you see that ad, that was the Roxy product that I was thinking about buying. I really must speak to my husband about it. So that digital retargeting component for me, I see, is totally invaluable. And we want to reach them through retargeting everywhere we can. But for me, the foundation is the infomercial media, because that long form media allows me to take a consumer who knows nothing to be someone who's either bought or very, very keen on buying.
And I say that takes a looker into a buyer.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
they're prospecting and going, this is interesting, but I've taken you down the path to go, oh, no monthly subscription, tens of millions of songs, games, all this kind of stuff that I can't get on Google, that I can't get on Amazon. Super easy, no passwords.
No password, no monthly recurring subscription, all the music in the world, voice search, fun stuff for the family, ability to turn off explicit lyrics if you've got a 7-year-old in the living room, karaoke fun with lyrics on the screen, name that tune, quiz games, sound machine for yoga. I mean, it's a proper entertainment experience for the whole family. But it's also something that people want to buy generally when they see it in action. And as you said earlier, a 30-second TV ad, I'm just never going to be able to do that effectively.
And I think what makes Roxy super interesting and what we've come together with is that there are streaming services, and this is an entertainment experience. There's so much more than...
It's not a music streaming device. It's an entire entertainment experience for the living room.
Which everybody else is, and that's the story we have to tell.
And that's actually also the other component of making long form work, because part of our message is let's get rid of those smartphones, put them down. You know, you don't want your kid sitting in the corner of the room with headphones in the ears, staring at a little tiny screen, day in, day out. Actually, wouldn't it be nice if everyone
got together?
Family time.
What a concept.
So that concept of changing the way that we interact together as a family, spending time with loved ones, not below headphones and not on a small screen, not on social media. You can tell that story much better when you actually show it in a visual experience. And it's also beneficial for us, although we can't say who it is today. We've got major Grammy awarding celebrities who really feel passionately about this story
Exactly.
and are willing to tell it on the screen.
I was going to say that because that I think that says volumes about the product, because the quality and the caliber of the people that are going to be in this show, and for them to say, you know what, that's important to me and my family. I want that for other people. And these are recording artists that are making music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So they're used to doing that, but they're saying, you know what, there's a time and place for everything, but I would love my music to be shared through the whole family.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to get into was, it's so interesting for me because here, This Works Marketing show that we do is all about, and the reason why we call it This Works Marketing, Rob, is because when we put together a really good campaign and it really moves, I hear over and over again that this really works, and that's what we're going to accomplish together. And after 31 years in business, literally, what I learned yesterday with one of the largest brands in America when it comes to personal care.
Yep.
Okay, I take from that conversation that I have with them that this company is doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
I'm learning from that, going, okay, how do we move some information here to make this work? And it was so fun because we can work with the startup, we can have an innovative product like this, and then we can work with some of the biggest brands in the world, because we do multi-million-dollar scopes of work for the biggest brands in the world and startups and from everywhere in between. And it never ceases to amaze me, the opportunities and the people you meet, because I think that one of the things that was really important for you and important for us was we connected. I mean, you literally got on a plane from London and said, I'm going to press the flesh of the person I'm going to do business with. What was it about that decision that you felt comfortable with us?
Well, obviously one looks at your track record.
Right.
But I think that's just a tick box that has to be ticked.
Right.
What it really comes down to is having a one-on-one interactive intellectual debate about what you're trying to achieve, and realizing that you're dealing with somebody who not only is on the same trajectory, but they've also got empathy for what you're trying to achieve and get excited in the project. And the final thing that got us excited is when you said to us, I like the product so much, I'd like to take most of my fees in shares, which is always a sign that somebody really believes in what they're doing. And we're not a global brand with a $10 billion market cap, but we're aiming to become one.
Right.
And the fact that you could see that what you were delivering through infomercials could mean that potentially you're making tens of millions of dollars out of working with us in a relatively short period of time.
Right.
That's the sign of somebody who's part of my team.
Yeah.
And even though I'm based generally in London,
Yep.
I consider you and your team to be part of the team.
Right.
You're not a supplier.
Right. We talk every day anyways.
Indeed.
We literally talk. Yeah.
Do you work with anyone else?
I appreciate that, Rob. So the other thing about the whole process was, what was the biggest aha for you when you saw it all coming together and you heard how we're going to approach the product, and we were in sync there.
Yeah.
When we first had our first shirt, where did you feel like, what was it that you felt like, okay, I can see this moving in the right direction? Was there a point where you felt like that made a difference for you?
Well, I suppose when you're an outsider looking at a 30-minute program, one doesn't really fully understand exactly how that's going to work. How do we fill 30 minutes?
Right.
The realization that, for people like yourself who've done this over and over again and had many, many projects and almost intuitively, exactly how to make these programs work.
Right.
The use of testimonials with real human beings who really have had the product, who really are excited about it. The use of celebrity, the way the host stuff is done, the use of graphics, the use of music behind. What I've come to realize, as is often the case in life, is that things can be the things that are most difficult in life are the things that someone can make look easy.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
And the reality is that I've come to realize there's an enormous amount of art and science about creating an effective piece of long form. If you just chose a production company that normally made 30-second TV ads, it's going to be a train wreck. Yeah? Definitely going to be a train wreck.
Yeah.
I think I've been very excited to see your focus on getting real world consumers who have the product at home and what they really think and what their kids think. Because actually, when I'm seeing that footage, I'm going, wow, the product really does
It
work.
really is a good product.
Exactly.
Did you feel that way when you saw we did something we call a man on the street, and we put Roxy in people's hands for the first time, and we said this is what it does, and they literally started using it, and you just see it lit up, and that's when I remember I called you. I said, Rob, that was the moment where I went, hey, we got something here because we couldn't get this out of people's hands.
No, I mean, we had a similar thing in a testing program in the UK where we sent, where it had a small number of devices at the very beginning, and we sent them out, and then we started finding it quite difficult to get them back. And that's usually a sign that
that's a good thing.
Exactly. I'm really sorry.
I don't know where I put it.
Exactly. It's attached to your TV. I think you'll find. But the great thing about long form is you're in someone's living room.
Right.
But you're also putting in their living room. You're putting consumers who use it every day. You're showing how it works. They can envisage what it really means. And there are some products that are commodity products. Like this is a 47-inch TV. Like a lot of other 47-inch TVs, it's just really going to be a price.
Color
really
fits on the wall and it's price.
When you've got a revolutionary product that does something different, there's a brand no one's ever heard of before, even if it's got lots of great music and even if it's got celebrities behind it, but if it's a brand new product that does something that's never been seen before, you've got to explain it and demonstrate it to the consumer, and ideally you've also got to allow people who have had the joy to show it off to other people.
And to share it.
Obviously long term the product starts selling itself. I remember the example with Nintendo Wii, where they only spent 10% of what Sony and Microsoft were spending on Xbox and PlayStation. And they outsold Sony and Xbox tenfold. And the reason was that people would go around to someone else's house, they'd see the Wii, and they'd go, I want one. And they'd buy one the next day. So that's what you ultimately want to get to eventually. In order to create the germs of that, to be able to use long form to show off a product, to allow people who love it to talk about it, to get that message across. And ultimately, you're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee anyway. So no one's got really that much to lose.
But if you like music and
we're confident that when you got the product, you're not going to want to send it back. So it works a lot better than those 30-second TV ads.
One of the things that we did was we did this thing. We said, try to stump Roxy. And in the voice search, we just said, throw out anything. I mean, it was from classical music to the latest, greatest,
R&B, jazz,
hip hop, the biggest artists in the world. I mean,
we essentially have all the music in the world. I even had, when we were in London doing some filming recently, some chap who tried out some Chinese canto pop, and actually we had it, It's like, wow, I didn't know we had that. So there's bound to be some music we don't have, but you really are going to have to spend really quite a long time. It's enough music to keep you listening for about 20 lifetimes if you listen to every single track once. So you're not going to listen to all of it. But the most important thing with music, unlike video services or video streaming services, is people expect to pick up a controller, ask for a track, and it's there. And that's what we're able to deliver, and we're lucky to be able to deliver that because there's not many companies. There's only 9 companies in the world who have all that music. The difference with us is we're trying to deliver that wonderful, joyous entertainment experience to a consumer who the music industry has, basically lost.
Because they've lost them to a headphone or something that they
might be listening to the radio, they might have a bunch of old CDs, but the reality is only 1 in 10 American homes over the whole country have a music streaming experience of some kind in the home. In the whole world, there are only 100 million people doing music streaming. And if you think there used to be 1 billion people buying CDs every month, there's clearly a lot of people who've disengaged from music, and we know they are older people, more family oriented, less tech savvy, not so wealthy. So by delivering something that works out the box, 2-minute setup, no software to download, no monthly recurring subscriptions. It just works, and it's got all this other great fun stuff like karaoke. We can bring music back into an audience who have basically been lost.
Right. And I think what's really interesting that I think you're grazing over a little bit that I want to get back into is that, yes, there's 9 companies who do this, but the fact of the matter is that when you're talking to a certain demographic that have been shut off, that are a little challenged by technology, that was a big thing that you had to accomplish with Roxy, right? I mean, it's not easy to do what you did.
I can tell you, it's very difficult. Yeah. So we've got the back-end software, the content ingestion, the licensing, the delivery on a CDN network, the industrial design, the manufacturing, the logistics, the distribution, all of the, this is before we even get into marketing.
Right.
There's actually even down to the circuit board design, running a facility out in China in Shenzhen where actually our production lines are.
Right.
So there's a lot to it, and you have to be a fairly brave entrepreneur to decide to. It's a lot more complicated than, I'll do another app. Yeah?
Right.
But the great thing about it is we're solving the problem for the consumer.
Right.
We're able to say, unlike any other service, buy the product, plug it in, no subscription, no passwords, none of this stuff. It's just going to work straight away.
Right.
And because it's got dedicated hardware, it's super easy to use.
Right.
And you can get, whether you're 4 years old or 74-year-old, you're going to be able to use the thing.
So talk to me a little bit about building a direct-to-consumer business, because that's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
You're going to own that customer.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to own that customer, and then it's up to us to continue to serve that customer with great customer service, great experiences, new user interfaces, all that kind of stuff. And then, and the long tail of that is what, Rob? Is that we get more customers to stay within the ecosystem, and that's where the profitability comes. So let's talk about the whole subscription aspect and why this way of marketing is important for that.
So, well, when we sell the product to the consumer, they're getting all the hardware and a 12-month premium music pass and all of the karaoke and games and radio for a very, very low price. We're not going to say today how much, but a very, very affordable price.
Right.
At the end of that 12 months, they can carry on using the product with ads, or they pay $52 a year to not have ads. Yeah. So there's obviously, and that delivers additional revenue for the industry, the music industry, and also for the artists who we pay for every track that's played. But obviously it delivers a continuing recurring revenue stream for us.
That's the key. That's where the business model is.
Exactly.
That's
we're building a base over time.
Right.
Now the reality is that the music industry is an industry where margins are lower than, for example, the film industry for a service provider, and that's primarily because you need to have all the music. You can't just go, oh, we won't bother with Warner Music. You've got to have a comprehensive catalogue. Whereas, say, someone like Netflix can decide to just lose a studio and you still have a viable service.
Right.
Which is why all of the services, including us, are comprehensive. If you're not comprehensive, you've got nothing really at all.
No one wants it.
So we do have that recurring revenue stream. We also have revenue streams from ads. We're also experimenting with additional services and content types that we can offer, and extra microphones for 2 or 3 people to do karaoke together.
Right.
But the fundamental to our business is we explain the product, and there are about 900 million people in the world who we can potentially sell this to. That's quite a lot to go after. We make margin the first time we sell the product. We reinvest that money into even more promotion.
Right.
And then we continue to offer services and subscriptions and add-ons to the base as it grows.
Exactly.
At the moment, we're only going to be launching this on long form in the UK and USA.
Right.
I'm licensed globally, though.
Right.
This is probably going to work quite well in Asia Pacific. You can imagine there's big markets out there where karaoke is quite popular.
Yep.
And our goal is, once we've really proven this over the next few months, next year is the year we go global. Now, there's a whole bunch of challenges with doing long form in multiple languages. Which ones do you dub? Which ones?
But we've got that. We've got that covered.
That'll keep us busy in 2019, I think.
So, really, is educating. So what and why Roxy decided to go direct to consumer and build an infomercial, and start there is because, they have a great service, but you're in we're acquiring customers.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're in the customer. It's yes, we're selling this, but we're acquiring customers for the long term, and that's the beauty of what we're doing here.
And I also know that if I acquire a customer, it's not going to be long before one of their friends goes round to their house, sees the product, and goes, "Actually, I want one of those too."
Right.
And if it's affordable enough, and it's not complicated to set up, and there's no recurring subscription, and it just works out the box, and then each customer creates additional customers as well as ongoing revenues. So, the key is, as a startup with a finite level of funding, and with a lot less money than Apple and a lot less money than Amazon, I want to make sure that all the money I throw out there has a rapid return on investment and delivers me a large number of customers who I can grow.
Exactly, and that's the model. And
Hey presto.
And the fact that when you build a lucrative, or I'm going to just say a big customer base, and that's the goal, then now you're in a position of leverage where you are going to know what your profits are. Let's say you're going to have, let's just say we're going to get 50,000 customers in 2019, right? Okay. Half of what we want to accomplish. But let's say if we get 50,000 customers, and we know there's going to be 20 to 30% of them in the churn that might stay or may not, whatever, we don't know. But 30% of that is money in the bank.
Yeah.
That's powerful as a company, right?
That's it's powerful also, especially when you've got an opportunity in the hundreds of millions of customers rather than the tens of thousands.
Right.
As soon as you can show repeatable revenues, lots of data showing exactly, I spend $10 on infomercial media this week, I make $50 back, say, for example.
Right.
And it's very easy to raise, not the kind of money that Apple have got, but enough money based on those repeatable revenues and that predictability to be able to scale with a relatively high valuation because it's relatively low risk.
Right.
Yeah. The ultimate thing in the technology industry is, can you build something that can scale globally, and can you create something that actually one day will generate a lot of money, actually make profits, not just burn cash.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
We have the basis of a business that can scale once we have the operating data, raising money to take it to additional markets and to scale up the level of activity is relatively easy compared with, for example, raising $100 million to launch a product without any operating data at all.
Exactly. And the cash burn through, and it's terrible.
I mean, that's sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Over and over every night. Isn't it?
You've been there.
Well, I've seen people who've been through that. Yes.
Yeah. So companies, brands, startups, big businesses, small, because the people that we work with. Why would you recommend to a chief marketing officer, a CEO, somebody who's maybe a private equity, why would you recommend direct response as a channel to look at least take a look at it when you're in that position of either launching a new brand, launching a product, introducing something, creating demand at retail, because that's for some people that makes a lot of sense. Why would you recommend?
Well, I don't think long form is necessary for everyone.
Right.
But ultimately, if you've got a product that does something new, that looks good when demonstrated, that is likely to be of interest to somebody who kind of actually has a television, so perhaps an older, more family-oriented audience, and is in kind of the right price bracket. You're not going to sell on an infomercial something that's $4.99, $4.99.
Correct.
Then it's definitely something to look at, particularly if you're a startup, because just the cold reality of day is that if you're a startup, you're always going to be constrained by your capital base.
Right.
And being able to do something in marketing terms which generates revenues in days rather than in months, it just changes your whole profile.
Right.
So I see if you've got a product that works well when it's demonstrated, it's designed for a slightly older market, if it's something that needs to be explained, if it's unique, if it's kind of in the $100, $200, $300 kind of price range, if you can get some celebrities behind it ideally, And if you've got enough money to build the creative and good creative, because it's not cheap, you know, it's not a print ad, talking about substantial investment, then it's definitely something to look at. If I'm a much more respected brand, like a very big global brand, then sometimes those kind of companies may not be entrepreneurial enough to take that approach.
Right.
They may just carry on doing those 30-second TV ads.
Yeah, and the reality is, and what we're seeing with our business and when working with the biggest brands in the world is that they still have to launch products.
Yes, that's
and true. They still have to launch products. They still have to have a customer's attention. They still have to tell their story. And I don't care if you've been around for 100 years. If you have a product that the story has to be told and it can't be told effectively in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can't separate yourself from the confusion from your competition, you have to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Somehow you have to solve that problem, or you're going to have a warehouse full of stuff that's not going anywhere.
I 100% agree, but I think if you're trying to launch a product that does something radically new, you've either got to look at things like long form, or you've got to have a lot of money. Yeah.
Right.
Now, if you have
and
a
that's
lot
the
of
rub.
money, then fine, good luck to you.
Right.
But if you haven't got the kind of money that a Sonos or an Apple Music or, you know, if you haven't got that kind of budget, and sadly we don't quite have that in the bank right now.
Right.
There's only one road, and when we saw how successful TV shopping could be, you demonstrate something, you excite them, you show it in action, the phones are ringing, they're hot.
Yeah.
It's just it's clearly the path compared with a expensive 30-second TV ad.
And the one of the things that really excited me about this, Rob, was that after using it at my home, and realizing the experience you get with the product, it's not coming back. I mean, it's just not coming back. I mean, it's just one of those things. Once you use it, you're like, why am I don't have music playing all the time?
Yeah.
Why don't I have music playing when I have friends over for dinner? Why not bring the neighbors over and
well, it's
and
much nicer to have a dinner party with and do that to the sounds of music. You just have a completely different social experience to sitting there trying to work out what to say in silence.
Yeah. One of the things I think that you guys did so brilliantly is with the curators.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying, you know, some of the biggest recording artists in the world. So, if that person is curating a list of music, I'm interested in that.
Yeah. Giving us their personal playlist. To share with the world, as well as to actually help to spread the word out. Right. Because I think the other thing for many artists is they can see the fact that many people are struggling with these services. Right. In the old days, it was as simple as buying a CD, opening it, putting in the CD player, press play. We could all engage in music. Music's such a fundamental part of our lives. We don't want it to become something that only the tech savvy can do. Right. And we want it to be something that we share with the whole family, where we haven't just got our own experiences with headphones. Right. And that's what we're ultimately trying to change. Yeah. Ultimately.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is you know, because as we were talking originally, is that, you know, there's very specific things you have to do in a direct response campaign. You have to solve a customer's problem. Yeah. Okay. You have to expose what their problem, their need, or the desire is. Yeah. Okay. And then you need to solve that with a unique way to do it that's different and better than your competition. Yes. Because if you're solving it and you're not providing any value or anything different or better than the other person,
if you're a commodity, then why even?
Who cares?
Why even carry on being tuned in? In fact, you won't. You're going to split a change.
So if you have those things and you have a unique way to do it, and you can tell people how to do it, and you can solve their problems, and you can have testimonials or you know, consumers, which I call, you know, I've said it a million times, we live in a review-based economy, right? Yeah. People want to hear what other people are experiencing, and then you can bring in a celebrity. In this case, we have. And then you have a great value proposition, and you can deliver it, you know, with shipping or free shipping, or you make that friction as simple as easy as possible.
Guarantee, exactly. And I think that's the other thing is, one of the things that we're delivering is not just a lot more content than other streaming devices. It is that simplicity, which is very difficult to do in technology. Yeah. We should be just focused on the music, not the technology. But the challenge for me is, could I build something that if I could ship to my mum and dad, who are quite
Yep.
elderly now, that they could set up on their own. And that's essentially what we've done.
Yes.
You know, if I was, on the other hand, buying them a Spotify subscription with a tablet and a Sonos box and some speakers,
It may collect dust.
then I'm going to be at the end of I'm going to be technical support for the next 10 years, you know? It's like,
Right.
hey, Rob, it's not working again.
Right.
How do we do this? I don't
Right.
know about the app download business.
Right.
So if we can make something in music streaming that is as simple as the CD player originally was, there are hundreds of millions of people over the world
Yeah.
who are just, you know, they love their music.
Yeah.
They've just been pushed away by the technology.
Yeah.
And if I can deliver that and also show them the solution through long form,
Yep.
I've got a very, very exciting business.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really the beauty of what you've done from a technology standpoint. It's my job to make that sound so simple
Yeah.
and so compelling, and we work together and create that message.
Well, I think you're doing a fairly good job already, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So in closing, I just want to say that when you are launching a product, whether you're a big brand, you're a small company, you're a big company, I don't want to push people. I know we can solve people's business problems. I know, because we're not in the script to screen, and This Works Marketing just happens to be the media channel for the company. You know, we're not in the infomercial business.
Yeah.
We're in the solve my business solution.
Yeah.
Give my business a solution business. That's the business we're in. So I'm really looking forward to the launch of this product.
Well, I am too.
And we're literally, after this, we're literally going into the beta to get this thing going. So I'm
truly excited. I love the work that you've done.
Yeah.
I also love the guidance you've given us, because you've done this before.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of banana skins that we could have tripped over.
Right.
And one doesn't want to trip over those banana skins when something is so important to the success.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know, any startup out there that really wants to take their investor money and turn it into a successful business, don't do the obvious thing, which is the young marketing dude in the corner who goes, give it to me, I'll put it on Facebook and we'll be millionaires. Because 99% of the time, it'll just disappear in a cloud of smoke. And Mark, well, he'll have it in his pocket, but you won't be the millionaire.
Right.
If we want to actually get a message across to a consumer, show them something, let them consider it, then this is a way of marketing that actually can work.
Hey, I like the name of that.
you go.
It works. And I think that the other thing is really important is that, you know, being collaborative. I mean, there are times where we go toe to toe, and you're like, Ken, I need to have this, and I give you the reason this, and I go, I listen to what you have to say, and you listen to what I have to say, and I think that got us to a point where we're super, super happy with the final product, and you just have to have that kind of relationship, have that open relationship with someone you're working with.
Yeah. So, I mean, in any kind of relationship like this, I know my product better than you.
Right.
You know this business better than I do.
Right.
You know, the fact that we can sit together in an edit suite and I can say, no, Ken, we're not presenting it like that.
Right.
And you go, okay.
Okay.
And then at the same time, I'll say, I'd like to go this path. I'd like to use these visuals. And you go, no, Rob, we're not doing that.
I want to see the smile.
Exactly.
And
that's
you go,
collaboration.
that's what I wanted to make
Exactly.
happen. Yeah.
That's what proper collaboration is. It's not one side winning.
Yeah.
It's both sides winning.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm looking so forward to, and hopefully in 2 months or so, we can get back on this show and say, see?
Hey, look, how well it works.
This thing works.
Exactly.
All right. So, you know, we work with the biggest brands in the world, and with startups and big companies and small companies. And if this is if this information resonated with you, and you feel like there's somebody else who can get value from this, I'd really appreciate if you'd share it, because this is real practical business we're doing here. We're not just sitting here yakking about something. We're talking about spending, you know, you spent many years, millions of dollars, just like every company out there, and it's a viable channel.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
Appreciate it. Welcome to This Works Marketing, where 3 decades of proven experience has launched products, built brands, and generated profits. These are the stories behind the businesses that have been built.